The series name is What If Naruto Become Hero in Bleach. This is second part of the series, so let's start the series. Yo Ichigo-chan, Naruto said with delight as he looked up at the red-haired Shinigami on top of the statue. All the Jounins tensed, all the Genins stepped back, and the Hokage, himself, reached for his churka ready to interfere. Ichigo had a tick mark as he looked down at Naruto. I thought I told you not to call me that bastard. Naruto smirked. A mix of emotions polythoruged him. He wanted to snap back saying it was a piece of shit, which it really wasn't. He wanted to shunpa up there and hug that strawberry till he broke his back. He wanted to scream at him and ask him what the hell he was doing here. He wanted to do a lot of things, so Naruto did the only thing that made sense at the time. Naruto disappeared and Ichigo's eyes widened. Ichigo raised Zangetsu in an overhead block, and sure enough Naruto reappeared and swung down hard. The strike was so quick and hard that there was a gust of wind that sounded throughout the room which was accompanied the grinding steels. Ichigo's shock was dissuaded as he realized what Naruto was trying to do. Ichigo stepped forward and pushed forward, sending Naruto flying back into the ground in a large crash. Ichigo jumped down and smirked. Oh, I come all the way here and you attack me. What the hell, fish cake? The dust that erupted from the crash faded and Naruto could now be seen smirking back at Ichigo. Hey, I haven't had a good fight in a while, so why don't we spar while we catch up any? Kakashi looked down at the growing situation with confusion, anger, and even fear. What was going on? Kakashi looked at the Hokage, who shook his head. Kakashi ever so slightly gripped the rails of the stands tighter, so the Hokage wanted to see where this would end up. Naruto cracked his back and held his sword out in front of him. Then Naruto did something unexpected. Naruto flipped over his sword so the grip was in reverse. Ichigo raised an eyebrow. Reverse style? Naruto nodded as he spread his legs a bit over shoulder width distance. He allowed his legs to bend and his arms to relax. Yeah, it's more fun like this. Besides, I want to see how strong you've become. Ichigo shook his head and then put his sword parallel to the ground. He moved one hand to the very edge of the handle and the other to the very edge of the blade. Man, oh man, we haven't done shit like this since we were training for the Winter War. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I still remember kicking you, kicking eyes and ass all over the floor. Ichigo laughed. Ah well, Ichigo disappeared. Naruto jumped up. The spot where Naruto was ripped open by several slashes that seemingly appeared there out of nowhere. In mid-air Naruto flipped his body over and his right arm, holding the sword, disappeared in a blur as it rotated around his body to block the strikes. Naruto moved his head back to dodge a slice at his nose, and then raised his knees to avoid a stab. Naruto flipped to the ground and Ichigo was still nowhere to be seen. Oh, has he learned some stealth? Naruto's body jolted as he felt a Ryatsu burst from underneath him. Naruto jumped away and a huge red beam erupted from the ground. Naruto laughed as he turned around and faced Ichigo, who was slowly climbing out of the burning hole. You actually got better at Kido. Ichigo shrugged. Naruto laughed even harder. You. Ahaha, you the strongest, oh god, that is rich. Ichigo eyebrow twitched. Shut up, you OLD man. Naruto gasped and pointed back angrily with his middle finger. OLD man, I have you know I am pretty young. Ichigo rolled his eyes and muttered about old men looking 300 years younger than they are. Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind Ichigo, who was still muttering to himself. Naruto slashed, but it was surprisingly blocked by Ichigo, who was not even looking. Ichigo stopped talking and smirked. Well, I've also been practicing. Ichigo twisted his body. He raised a fist and punched Naruto in the gut. This move just for you. Ichigo raised his sword in front of him and locked eyes with Naruto. Bankai. A huge amount of Ryatsu erupted from Ichigo, but the color was in black. So, getting serious. But to Naruto's displeasure, Ichigo came out with his hollow mask and shouted Jetsuga Tenshu. Naruto glared and focused energy into his sword. Naruto called out Hell Flame Claws. Naruto slashed, and 3 energy waves shot out and met the black wave. A clash of Ryatsu erupted throughout the room. Asuma covered his face as he listened for sounds of battles. Having been a guard for the fire daimyo, he was taught how to fight without his eyesight. What he heard was amazing. It was the constant beat of steel clashing with steel. It was like a harmony, a melodious work of art. It was so fast, and so many at once. Asuma almost believed there were several people in the room fighting. The dust settled and all the Nins gasped as they looked down on the floor. There were about 12 craters on the ground, 312 slashes of different slices, and 2 blood-covered warriors grinning at each other. Ichigo now had a deep gash on his arm, a cut over his chest, and 2 slashes across his cheek. Naruto, on the other hand, had a slash across his back and 6 shallow rips across his legs. All of these wounds were bleeding porously. Naruto and Ichigo glared at each other for a few seconds, but it felt like hours. Finally they both gave in and started laughing. All the Nins in the room looked at the laughing swordsmen like they were crazy. Had they not been fighting to the death? Were they not trying to kill each other? Ichigo walked up to Naruto. While sheathing his sword, Naruto sheathed his own sword and pulled out another bottle of sake and sat down. Ichigo sat down next to him and sighed. Ah damn, that was a good fight. Naruto nodded, while sipping some liquor. Want some? Hey, I'm too young for a drink. Naruto then took an ointment from his scroll, spread some on his wounds and tossed it to Ichigo. Here, now tell me what the hell you doing here? Ichigo shrugged. Orders? Naruto raised an eyebrow. From the old man or king? Just the old man. Naruto whistled in amazement, and Ichigo nodded in agreement. Naruto shrugged. May you have still ways to go then, kid. Ichigo eyebrow twitched. Senile old fart. Naruto shook his head. How's everyone else? Ichigo shrugged once more. Everyone took it alright. Rest of the Taichos went back to their old business. Yeah, I thinks that's about it. Naruto took a sip of the sake and waited. He knew Ichigo was just teasing him. Oh yeah, she's pregnant. Naruto choked. Yo Ichigo-chan, Naruto said with delight as he looked up at the red-haired Shinigami on top of the statue. All the Jounins tensed, all the Genins stepped back, and the Hokage, himself, reached for his churka ready to interfere. Ichigo had a tick mark as he looked down at Naruto. I thought I told you not to call me that bastard. Naruto smirked. A mix of emotions polyed through him. He wanted to snap back saying it was a piece of shit, which it really wasn't. He wanted to shunpa up there and hug that strawberry till he broke his back. He wanted to scream at him and ask him what the hell he was doing here. He wanted to do a lot of things, so Naruto did the only thing that made sense at the time. Naruto disappeared and Ichigo's eyes widened. Ichigo raised Zangetsu in an overhead block, and sure enough Naruto reappeared and swung down hard. The strike was so quick and hard that there was a gust of wind that sounded throughout the room, which was accompanied the grinding steels. Ichigo's shock was dissuaded as he realized what Naruto was trying to do. Ichigo stepped forward and pushed forward, sending Naruto flying back into the ground in a large crash. Ichigo jumped down and smirked. Oh, I come all the way here and you attack me. What the hell, fish cake? The dust that erupted from the crash faded and Naruto could now be seen smirking back at Ichigo. Hey, I haven't had a good fight in a while, so why don't we spar while we catch up any? Kakashi looked down at the growing situation with confusion, anger, and even fear. What was going on? Kakashi looked at the Hokage, who shook his head. Kakashi ever so slightly gripped the rails of the stands tighter, so the Hokage wanted to see where this would end up. Naruto cracked his back and held his sword out in front of him. Then Naruto did something unexpected. Naruto flipped over his sword so the grip was in reverse. Ichigo raised an eyebrow. Reverse style? Naruto nodded as he spread his legs a bit over shoulder width distance. He allowed his legs to bend and his arms to relax. Yeah, it's more fun like this. Besides, I want to see how strong you've become. Ichigo shook his head and then put his sword parallel to the ground. He moved one hand to the very edge of the handle and the other to the very edge of the blade. Man, oh man, we haven't done shit like this since we were training for the Winter War. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I still remember kicking you, kicking Aizen ass all over the floor. Ichigo laughed. Ah well, Ichigo disappeared. Naruto jumped up. The spot where Naruto was ripped open by several slashes that seemingly appeared there out of nowhere. In mid-air, Naruto flipped his body over and his right arm, holding the sword, disappeared in a blur as it rotated around his body to block the strikes. Naruto moved his head back to dodge a slice at his nose, and then raised his knees to avoid a stab. Naruto flipped to the ground and Ichigo was still nowhere to be seen. Oh, has he learned some stealth? Naruto's body jolted as he felt a Ryatsu burst from underneath him. Naruto jumped away and a huge red beam erupted from the ground. Naruto laughed as he turned around and faced Ichigo, who was slowly climbing out of the burning hole. You actually got better at Kido. Ichigo shrugged. Naruto laughed even harder. You. Ahaha, you the strongest, oh god, that is rich. Ichigo eyebrow twitched. Shut up, you old man. Naruto gasped and pointed back angrily with his middle finger. Old man, I have you know I am pretty young. Ichigo rolled his eyes and muttered about old men looking 300 years younger than they are. Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind Ichigo, who was still muttering to himself. Naruto slashed, but it was surprisingly blocked by Ichigo, who was not even looking. Ichigo stopped talking and smirked. Well, I've also been practicing. Ichigo twisted his body. He raised a fist and punched Naruto in the gut. This move just for you. Ichigo raised his sword in front of him and locked eyes with Naruto. Bankai. A huge amount of Reiatsu erupted from Ichigo, but the color was in black. So, getting serious. But to Naruto's displeasure, Ichigo came out with his hollow mask and shouted Jetsuga Tenshu. Naruto glared and focused energy into his sword. Naruto called out Hell Flame Claws. Naruto slashed, and 3 energy waves shot out and met the black wave. A clash of Reiatsu erupted throughout the room. Asuma covered his face as he listened for sounds of battles. Having been a guard for the fire daimyo, he was taught how to fight without his eyesight. What he heard was amazing. It was the constant beat of steel clashing with steel. It was like a harmony, a melodious work of art. It was so fast, and so many at once, Asuma almost believed there were several people in the room fighting. The dust settled and all the Nins gasped as they looked down on the floor. There were about 12 craters on the ground, 312 slashes of different slices, and 2 blood-covered warriors grinning at each other. Ichigo now had a deep gash on his arm, a cut over his chest, and 2 slashes across his cheek. Naruto, on the other hand, had a slash across his back and 6 shallow rips across his legs. All of these wounds were bleeding porously. Naruto and Ichigo glared at each other for a few seconds, but it felt like hours. Finally they both gave in and started laughing. All the Nins in the room looked at the laughing swordsmen like they were crazy. Had they not been fighting to the death? Were they not trying to kill each other? Ichigo walked up to Naruto. While sheathing his sword, Naruto sheathed his own sword and pulled out another bottle of sake and sat down. Ichigo sat down next to him and sighed. Ah damn, that was a good fight. Naruto nodded, while sipping some liquor. Want some? Hey, I'm too young for a drink. Naruto then took an ointment from his scroll, spread some on his wounds and tossed it to Ichigo. Here, now tell me what the hell you doing here? Ichigo shrugged. Orders? Naruto raised an eyebrow. From the old man or king? Just the old man. Naruto whistled in amazement, and Ichigo nodded in agreement. Naruto shrugged. May you have still ways to go then, kid. Ichigo eyebrow twitched. Senile old fart. Naruto shook his head. How's everyone else? Ichigo shrugged once more. Everyone took it alright. Rest of the Taichos went back to their old business. Yeah, I thinks that's about it. Naruto took a sip of the sake and waited. He knew Ichigo was just teasing him. Oh yeah, she's pregnant. Naruto choked. Naruto looked at the orange-haired Shinigami with a surprised look marring on his face. What do you mean she's pregnant? Ichigo's eye twitched in annoyance. What I mean is that Soifan's pregnant with your kid. Naruto giggled, but it turned into a full-blown laugh. He fell down and held his stomach as he choked on his own laughter. Ha ha ha. Very funny, Ichigo. You caught me there, kiddo. Ichigo's eyes yet again twitched under his attitude. But as soon as Naruto's laughing spree died down, the blonde looked back at the Shinigami with a face that said, You're kidding, right? You're serious, are you? Ichigo slammed his fist onto the boy's head. Of course I'm not kidding, you idiot. Naruto whined comically as he squat and rubbed his head. Why are you so mean to me, Ichi-chan? Ichigo grimaced at his words. Idiot. He paused for a while. Besides, I can't stay here for long. Urahara sent me through that old busted gate that we used once when we were trying to save Rukia. But that's not what I'm here for. I just wanted to send you a message. This is from Soifan. Naruto's eyes widened slightly as he got up to his feet and faced Ichigo. A letter? The orange head nodded in response. This is from her. She said that this is something you might want to treasure. He took out a parchment within his garments and gave it to his senior before he sighed and closed his eyes. And Naruto, I'm losing my powers. Naruto gave the teen a questioning brow. What do you mean? Ichigo gave a weak smile before continuing. Urahara said that I'm losing my Shinigami abilities, and I'm afraid hearing that. Naruto's face softened as he got to his toes and placed his hand on Ichigo's head as he ruffled his hair. You idiot, there's nothing to be afraid of. But what if I can't see you guys anymore? Can't you feel my pain? Can't you? He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. This was something Ichigo couldn't bear. Losing his powers meant losing what he uses to protect his family and friends. Naruto looked down before he punched Ichigo in the gut, causing him to fall on the ground wide-eyed. Don't talk like that, Ichigo, don't ever say that. So what if you can't see us? You'll at least know that they're always with you. His voice was soft but dark, enough for him to get through Ichigo's head. Ichigo kept silent as he faced the ground. Be happy, Ichigo. I am sorry, Naruto. Are you both done with your reunion? The Hokage said, looking from his stand. He was frowning. He has no idea what was happening and he intends to find out. Naruto-kun is more mature and serious. It seems something must have happened in the Forest of Death. The Sandaime Hokage stared at the Naruto, gave a small smile. But at least you have matured more, Naruto-kun. He glanced to his sides and noticed that their reunion has attracted unwanted attention. Naruto-kun, would you care to escort your friend to your quarters? I'll have my jounin to give you your room and key. Naruto gave the Hokage a smirk as he extended his hand towards Ichigo. Come on, kid, we can talk on the way back. Ichigo stared at him and extended his own as Naruto pulled him to his feet. Yeah? As the two got up, the blonde Shinigami brushed his hakama as he and Ichigo followed the jounin. Naruto's room. Na fish cake, mumbled Ichigo. He has been pondering on this little thought that was in his mind ever since he fought Naruto. What? Naruto replied, the jounin long gone as he given them their key. I've been wondering why Ryu looks so short and young? The teen snickered at that. Naruto had a tick mark appearing on his head and growled lowly, Shut up, you little fucker. I was just hiding my real age and height from them. Ichigo just raised his brow. You can do that? Naruto just nodded triumphantly before it struck him like lightning and he jumped in front of Ichigo, eyes wide from realization. Wait. How do you know I'm here? Ichigo rubbed his forehead, trying hard to remember something before. Rukia told you, didn't she? Ichigo just smiled in return, but Naruto continued. But how do you know I was in this area? Ichigo answered, well, when I went to the Soul Society, I met Soi Fan and she told me that she wanted me to give you the letter and her pregnancy results, and being the good guy I am, I accepted and I met with Rukia and she told me about your vacation. Ichigo paused. I asked her where you went but she had no idea, so I get Urohara and he decided to help me. He got some of your old clothes and there you have it. The gate absorbed your remaining erasure within the clothes and led me to this place, but I must say that this place is weird, Naruto. It looks old and weird, plus why'd you have to take a vacation for 72 years? Naruto sighed. There's no point. Ichigo knows too much. Listen, Ichigo, I'm not having a vacation but a mission. The Orangeette frowned. The Soul King wanted me to save this world, and before you ask more questions, yes, this is another realm or Earth. There are many, many more, and I was sent here because this was my birthplace, and to cut it short, I'm only coming back to Soul Society after the problems here have been taken care of. Plus, if you realize by now, the reason the people here could see you was because of the amount of chakra. It is higher and thus, it has increased their sight, more, Ichigo? Ichigo eyes casted down. So I have to keep this a secret? He doesn't care about them seeing him, and Naruto nodded at that as Ichigo carried on. Even from Soi Fan? Yes, even from her. You may tell Urohara since he might just pester you. He catch a breath. But if Soi Fan still wants to know, say that you gave me the letter and the news when you met me at a park. Ichigo exhaled softly before he had a tingling feeling at his feet. The teen looked down and smiled. Looks like my time's almost up, Naruto. Naruto returned the smile. It has been a nice while, Ichigo, and remember, even if you lose your powers, don't ever lose hope and keep fighting. Ichigo grinned as he scratched the back of his head, half of his body already disappearing. I'll keep that in mind. And Naruto, thank you. Same goes to you. And with that, Ichigo disappeared from his view. Kakashi was just standing there. The fight between Naruto and that orange-haired kid hit him hard. Was he a bad sensei? Or was he just another failure? Maybe I should just talk to him. Suddenly Chuji screamed, safe again. Kakashi looked at the screen and frowned before looking back at Lee. This might be bad, especially since he's fighting the Sand Shinobi. Naruto stretched himself as got up from his bed and looked down. Ichigo's departure made him a little depressed, but he knows that he'll see them again. He cracked and moaned, man, that hit the spot. He walked over to the mirror and checked himself and sulked. I look so short, and a thought struck him. Maybe lying to Ichigo about his height wasn't a bad idea. He concentrated his Ryatsu in his body. It glowed a blue hue before it died down. Naruto looked back at himself and whistled. This old fucker looks hot, his voice deeper and cool. I like this form better. He went over to the chair and wore his hakama and smirked. I always love surprises. And with that, he grabbed his katana and left the room. But as soon as he closed the door, the ceiling above him shook slightly. The Shinigami frowned. Something's happening. Lee wasn't faring well. The boy frowned as sand after sand came up to him. The boy ducked from a sweep and did several back flips before he felt the floor becoming slippery. His eyes widened. The sand. He fell on the ground and groaned when suddenly a hand-shaped sand covered the lights that illuminated above him as he gave a short scream. ARGHH. The Konoha ninjas gasped as they thought Lee was dead. Guy only smiled. Lee suddenly appeared on the Ramstein stone. He was taking short breaths, obviously exhausted from the little fight before. I can't beat him if his sand keeps on protecting him. The two then exchanged looks as others waited for each of them to make their moves. Guy smiled. Lee, prove to them how much you've grown. He gave out a good job hand sign. Alright Lee, take him off. Naruto frowned. Take what off? He was walking towards the balcony where Team 10 was. No one knew he was there yet since most of them were intrigued by the match. When the boy finished reaching past the stairs, someone blocked his way. What now? Whoa Naruto, is that you? It was Chuji. The blonde Shinigami smirked in response. Of course it's me. Who do you think I was? Asuma, Ino and Shikamaru turned their heads to see who Chuji was talking to, and what they saw surprised them. There stood before them was Naruto, in his standard hakama, katana at his side and the strange 2nd Division badge on his shoulder. But what surprises them the most was his looks. He was taller than before. Probably someone that looks like in his late teens. His baby fat's long gone. His now whiskered cheeks helping enhance his features more as eyes were narrower, and his hair tied into a ponytail. He chuckled at their reaction. Surprised yet? His voice was deep but smooth. Hearing him speak, Ino blushed. Why yeah. Naruto walked up to her and gave her a wink as he rested his back on the wall just like Asuma did. But their conversation were cut short when the sound of metal and ground sounded through the whole room. They snapped their heads at where Lee was and Naruto's eyes narrowed. Asuma-sensei. The man hemmed as he faced Naruto. The teen continued staring at Lee before he moved his eyes to Gaara. What can you tell me about this Gaara? Asuma looked at Gaara. What I can tell you is that the kid knows his stuff. His sands acts as a shield to protect him from harm, and from what I heard, they said that he's a psycho. Doesn't take an idiot to know that, Asuma-sensei. The smoker chuckled at his words. So Naruto, what's up with the whole new look thing? Naruto glanced at the man before he eyed the match. Puberty. Asuma burst. He was laughing hard. The other shinobi at the balcony stopped and looked at him. Even Gaara and Lee. Puberty. I'm loving you already, kid. However, people were having different thoughts. The Konoha shinobi currently had one thing on their mind when they saw the person beside Asuma. Naruto? Naruto, is that really you? The pinkette just stared jaws open seeing her teammate. As for Kakashi Minato-sensei, Hate coughed. Before cough, Asuma-sen interrupt cough, please continue. The two opponents once again did another standoff before Lee made his move. He jumped, and out of magic, appeared behind Gaara and gave a simple punch, only to be stopped by the sand. Gaara's eyes widened. How is dash? His thoughts were cut when Lee did a kick but again blocked by the sand. Naruto just eyed the match as Gaara hastily was trying his best to avoid punch after kick from Lee. So Lee's new speed is affecting Gaara's sand. The sand was lesser than usual after from a punch or kick, so his speed is too fast for Gaara's sand to react and protect him. This is gonna be interesting. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes narrowed down on that figure. He thought that was another intruder, but as soon as he felt that chakra signature, he gave questioning brow. Naruto. But a sudden gasp from the shinobi at the balconies broke him from his own world as he watched the match. It has appeared that Gaara had his head drop kicked by Lee. The three Sand siblings and their sensei were having similar reactions, and that was how? Again, Lee tried to do similar attacks only to be blocked again. It is time to pick up more speed, and so, Lee's speed started to increase as he rushed towards Gaara when he wanted to be on the offensive with his sand trying to capture the boy. But Lee anticipated the attack and dodged it at the very last minute before he did a few more punches and swipes. Gaara was breathing hard. He was afraid. No one tire him like this. No one! He suddenly felt pain coursing through his left cheek as he was thrown back from a punch. Naruto cracked open one eye. I sensed something. He moved from his spot and had a good look on Gaara and his brow furrowed. I wouldn't be cheering if I were you. Team 10 stared at him and Ino voiced out. What do you mean? Chuji pointed at Gaara. I'll look at him, his face and body. Shikamaru cut him off. So that means he stared at Naruto as the blonde nodded his head. This fight is far from over. Naruto just glared at the redhead. His posture was poorer than before and even his breathing is ragged, indicating the blonde that Gaara is either exhausted or calming himself down. His eyebrows furrowed together when Gaara's sand eerily oozed out from that gourd of his. Slowly the tiny brown rocks filled around the boy as he faced the floor, and chunks from his face began to peel off and drop onto the tiled floor, as its pale-like color turned to that of his sand. Lee's round eyes widened from shock when the redhead faced him. His whole skin from his head and including his neck turned into the same sand-colored brown as it crumbled out from his face and neck, revealing his original pale skin. But what shocked him and the shinobi above was not that maniacal grin he gave to Lee, the one that would frighten off any unexperienced individual. Instead, it was the fact he was unharmed from any of Lee's blows. The Jounin-sensei, Hokage and Naruto knew what happened, and they were not too thrilled that the boy could still stand from the attacks that could very well leave him in a comatose state, especially since that his opponent was trained by Might Guy, Konoha's famous taijutsu master. This not only made Naruto be intrigued by his ability to use the sand as a cushion against the savage onslaught, but also the thing that resides within the redhead. His Zanpakuto warned him of the beast that is taking refuge in the boy, since it was similar to Naruto's own before it the Soul King extracted it and formed it into his Zanpakuto. Naruto closed his eyes and exhaled slowly. Even I don't know what was in me, but it was helpful during the bridge incident. He pushed the thoughts aside to focus on the battle below him, and he couldn't help but notice that Gaara's team is having a hard time relaxing themselves, so he decided to visit the sand team. But as said Shinigami stepped forward, an unnatural hollow-like force seeped out from Gaara. Naruto jerked his head to face him, and the sand that crumbled around the boy started forming back, and thus covering his whole body as his maniacal face slowly turned to that same stoic expression from before the match. What the hell? This kid, there's a fucking demon trapped in him. Naruto wrapped his hand around his Zanpakuto hilt as he walked over to the railing to oversee the events unfolding below. Relax, Naruto-kun. Extracting a demon from its host will only do more harm than good. A soft voice echoed after Naruto as she chuckled at her wielder. Sorry Q, I just couldn't help it. He has a demon in him. That's enough to make me feel mad about it. It must have affected him. His Zanpakuto just smiled warmly at said Shinigami, and before he knew it, that isn't my name anymore, Naruto-kun. The whiskered boy grinned. I know, but that was your name, right? I'll only call your Zanpakuto name when we are actually fighting together. Naruto just gave a soft chuckle as he let go of his hilt and continued towards the sand team, occasionally taking glances to the two shinobi below him. They weren't making any moves on each other yet, but it greatly affected the atmosphere of the arena. Everyone felt the tension between the two, but Gaara just stood there eyeing the shinobi in green as his sand almost finishing up on covering him up. Lee didn't dare to move. He knew that if he were to move, something unforeseen might happen, and he wasn't taking the risk. His body was clearly aching from the last-minute dodges and the strikes he did during their battle. He started to control his breathing as he stared at his opponent and the aura of sand surrounding him. The boy in green spandex glanced to his sensei, and the teacher just gave him a look of approval. From this, Lee nodded back before smirking. He straightened his posture as he began unwrapping the bandages that covered his hands and forearms, and leaving a loose strand of the cloth on each arm. The boy in green frowned. Prepare yourself. With that, he took off at top speed, surrounding the redhead, leaving cloud of dusts and air violently moving around Gaara at a very high speed, leaving said boy surrounded by it. Hurry up and come here. Lee just gave the boy a forward answer. As you wish. He suddenly appeared below the sand shinobi and gave an uppercut kick to his chin that sent the boy to the sky. Gaara winced from the attack as he tried to call forth his sand to help block out any upcoming attacks. Unfortunately, Lee knew of this as he gave a war cry and slammed his foot into the shinobi's guts, sending further into midair before giving him a barrage of kicks, the sand following after the two like magnets as they went higher. Naruto just gave a short glance to the two before he continued to the gaping sand team. Hey, mind telling me the reason behind Gaara's ability? 'Cause I know that something's wrong with the kid's chakra system. Kankuro was the first to react. What do you mean something's wrong with his chakra? The second eldest tried to deter the question away. It was bad enough that the Shikaku's waking up and having this guy suspecting that something was off with Gaara. It's not nice to play dumb, Kankuro, but since you're wasting my time, I'll just ask your sensei. The blonde replied coldly before he continued on and walked past the sand shinobi and to their teacher, leaving a very irritated Kankuro cursing the boy Baki-san. Naruto looked up at the man. He was hesitating, and Naruto noticed that. It was very clear he was, even though the man was much older than his age, well, only physically, not mentally though. This made Naruto chuckle amusingly at the shinobi's experience. For a jounin, Baki-san, you sure sweat a lot. You sure you guys ain't hiding anything? He gave a sly smirk to the three. Baki just kept silent. This wasn't worth his time. He was going to order his students to ignore the brat until Temari burst the bubble. He has something in him. She made sure it was only the four of them heard it before the girl realized her mistake and slapped her hand over her mouth, guilt written over her features. The Shinigami noticed that her brother just shook his head in disappointment, knowing that their cover was blown, and their sensei just cursed under his breath. The boy just gave the girl a smile and brought the palm of her hand to his lips and giving it a soft peck before giving a saucy smile. Thank you, Temari-chan. The girl just blushed before she jerked back her hand and mumbled to herself. The blonde Shinigami merely chuckled at her flustered reaction before that face of his became dead serious as he looked at the jounin. So mind telling me the story? The teacher growled in response. What if I don't? It wasn't a question but more of an issue of a challenge. Naruto gave a challenging smile. Then let's take it somewhere else then, Baki-san. Baki just grunted and turned around and walked to the stairs. Follow me. Naruto didn't say anything and just followed the jounin. Are you sure this is the right method, Naruto? This may very well be an ambush. The ex-lieutenant stared at the man's broad back before glancing back over his shoulder to see the sand team. They were intrigued to what their sensei was planning with the boy. Naruto just sighed as he replied his Zanpakuto. If this will lead me to my answers, then the risk is necessary. Besides, if there were an ambush, we already know that the sand has betrayed the leaf. Even you know it, Q. The Zanpakuto remained silent and Naruto accepted the fact. She was just worried about her wielder, that's all. The Shinigami went back to reality as he made his way down to the stairs, and he could feel several pair of eyes on him, including the Hokage's. He ignored the stairs as Baki led him to the exit, and off they go below the stadium. The boy decided to break the ice. You going to answer my questions or not, Baki-san? I'm getting irritated by your lack of speech. What's the matter? Busy planning a method to murder me? The man didn't bother to answer his question as they continued walking over the long pathway before Baki stopped at towards the end. I'll answer your questions after we give all out-and-out battle. The man just said that before they reached a double door. The man proceeded to open the door, and Naruto noticed the smell of earthy-like feeling assaulting his sense of smell. So we're doing this outside at Baki-san? The two went on to the open field and faced one another. Baki bore a frown on his features, whereas Naruto just gave the man an all-knowing smirk. Seeing that cocky face of his made the jounin gritted his teeth. Getting cocky, are you? The boy's smirk became more profound as he got into his Hakuta stance. So what if I am? Baki replied through his gritted teeth. You know, I thought you were crazy back at the first exam, but during the beginning of the second exam you were acting all cool, but now I am just being too cocky, right? The man didn't reply his question as he also got into his stance. Let's just get this over with, Uzumaki. With those final words, Baki used his blade of wind technique, sending high-powered air pressure to the blonde's direction. Naruto cocked his head to the side, avoiding the first blast. Naruto spoke softly, but enough for Baki to hear him. That was disappointing. That made older man popped. You think you're tough, kid? He snapped his fingers, sending waves after waves of the pressurized air towards him. The first wave were all aimed to Naruto's gut, and he just sidestepped, knowing that the man was clearly pissed off at him, and it really affected his aiming. The man shot out more of his jutsu and Naruto rushed forward, dodging the attacks that were meant for him. It maddens the elder of the two, knowing that the boy is much more skilled despite his ranking. Naruto slid below Baki and the man woke up from his stupor. Realizing his mistake, he decided to change tactic, and took out his kunai in an attempt to strike the boy down from his current position. Naruto anticipated the move and grabbed Baki's wrist. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Baki-san, Naruto said in a low, thick voice. Baki ched as he attempted to remove his wrist from the boy's grasp, but sadly he couldn't. The blonde's hand was clamped shut. The Suna shinobi brought out his left hand in a way to bash the boy. Naruto smirked and moved closer to the shinobi and used his right elbow and struck the older man's tennis elbow. Shock etched itself on Baki's face as Naruto used Sandbag Ubido on him. The technique that is notably used by Kensei. He gave the man an uppercut, and even though his recovery rate was short, it was enough for Naruto to execute it. He began giving a barrage of punches to the Suna shinobi's chest and gut, but he didn't want to overdo it, especially since this guy's was the only person he could get the information he need. But Baki couldn't believe it though. This boy, he should be in his rank, or at least a rank above him. The blonde's ability to provoke his opponent just to make him lose his concentration. Thinking about this made matters only worse for the man as the boy proceeded to punch him at rapid speed. I should end this now. Naruto decided to give one last jab only to jump backwards, avoiding a gust of wind that was aimed directly to him. Damn it. Those kids just couldn't leave me alone with Baki. As Naruto gave a few more jumps back to create an amount of space between him and Temari. Why so mean, Temari-chan? He said in a teasing tone. Don't mock me, Uzumaki, she spoke between pauses, her tone indicating she wasn't joking around. Baki-sensei, please follow Kankuro back to the first aid. We need you patched up. The man wanted to protest, but Kankuro got him to his feet and had allowed his sensei to slung over him. Sorry, sensei, but you're in no condition to battle for now. The face-painted boy spoke softly as he carried his teacher back into the building. Naruto waved back at the man with amused look. That was a fine match, Baki-san. But you need to try and use different techniques and jutsu every once a while. Relying on one for the whole match will limit you, okay? Baki didn't bother to answer him but just nodded in agreement before Kankuro took him away. Naruto sighed and faced the eldest of the Sand siblings. So mind answering what your sensei didn't? Or do you want another fight? I'll answer only 3 of your questions. Alright then, on to my questions. What are your plans? What is the reason if you really have this plan, and tell me about Gaara. Everything about Gaara. He wasn't joking this time. This could affect the Leaf Village if there were any ill intentions from the Sand. But it was Gaara that piqued his interest. The boy somehow has a demon living inside him. It's unnatural, and the blonde believes that it's connected with his ability to manipulate sand. He gazed at her. What are you waiting for, a roll call? She twitched. Shut up, will you? I was just gonna answer you. Naruto chuckled lightly, although his face still has that serious look. Watch your tone, Temari-chan. If you don't, it might just piss people off. Hearing that, Temari started to sweat. Alright, but let me just give you bits of the answers. That's fine by me. Okay, so basically, we're here to begin an invasion on Konoha. Naruto's eyes narrowed at that line. He opened his mouth but was quickly cut off by Temari. But before you start on anything, Kankuro and I personally don't want to start a war. We feel that it was unnecessary, plus we don't know about the reasons why the Kazekage ordered this, but on our last briefing, the Sound Village will be aiding us. What about your brother and teacher? How do they feel about this and this Sound Village? Do you know anything about them? Baki-sensei is just following orders that were issued by the Kazekage and Gaara. Gaara will just do anything for blood, and I'm sorry. I don't have any clues about the Sound and their role. I see, then what about Gaara? I know there's something in him. What is that thing? Temari felt hesitant. She wasn't sure if she could trust this guy after she spilled the beans. He might even kill her after their little chat's over. Like I said, I wouldn't tell you everything, but that thing in Gaara is the secret weapon for the invasion, and it's dangerous when awakened. Naruto was taken aback by that short outburst, and she continued, Please. Can you help us? We love our little brother, but that thing just keeps affecting him. He can't sleep, he can't think straight, and top it all, we're scared of him. We're afraid of our own little brother. Can you believe that? Temari fell to her knees as she started crying. Naruto's face softened as he walked over to said girl and gave her a hug. Sure, it's okay, you can let it all out, you don't have to think about it. I'll find a way to stop this invasion and save your lil bro, got it? So stop crying. It's not good that a big bad Suna Kunoichi to cry. Temari sniffled before looking at him with her puffy eyes. You mean it? You can save him? Yeah, I can. She nestled her head into his neck and thanked him. Sis, it's your turn now. The proctor said he'll disqualify you if you don't turn up, Kankuro said from behind the two. Realizing her brother was behind them, Temari quickly pulled herself away from the other blonde and gave him a smile before going to the building, leaving Naruto and the second Suna sibling awkwardly staring at each other. So, she told you, didn't she? Kankuro asked the Shinigami while rubbing the back of his neck uncomfortably. Naruto gave him a grin. She did. So you guys dating now or what? 'Cause Dad's gonna be really pissed off when he hears that Temari has a guy playing with her. So? I can play with her all I want, plus your dad is with what army? The Sand Village. He's the Kazekage, you idiot. Naruto didn't flinch when he heard their father's position. So she's a princess, huh? All the merrier for me. He then continued to the door when Kankuro grabbed his wrist, halting the boy in the process. So this means you don't like her? She interests me, Kankuro, and I just hope you allow me to pursue her. The brown-haired boy sighed. As long as she's happy, I'm happy. But just make sure you guys don't do it yet, alright? The blonde snickered at his dirty mind. Don't worry, Kankuro. I don't plan on it yet. Arriving at the arena, Naruto only gave a whistle as he noticed the destruction of the area. Temari's battle hasn't begun yet, but he understands why. With this much destruction done to the arena, the fight just isn't fair. Naruto thought about that before giving a chuckle. Come to think of it, life isn't fair. He walked over Asuma, and the smoker raised a brow at him. Where have you been, kid? The ex-lieutenant replied the man. Just out having fresh air, but that's not what I'm worried about, Asuma-sensei. He stared at the mess below. How was the match? Naruto knew that it was really bad by taking note of how Team 10's body stiffened slightly at the question. At the corner of his eyes, he leered with a bored expression at a certain redhead. Seeing that boy remain barely unscathed made him wonder of the powers this boy have with his sand. Asuma whispered, No good, Naruto. Lee seems badly injured, especially with that final blow. It affected his arm and leg. Guy had to intervene in the match. But that's not the worst of it. The medic Nin said that Lee's shinobi duties are over. Naruto's eyes widened from hearing it. You mean he's... The eldest of the two continued, Yeah, crippled. It's harsh, I know, but it's reality. Naruto didn't bother to reply and sighed at it as he walked over to Kakashi. He wasn't pissed, he knew that Lee will lose, but he underestimated Gaara's sanity. To do this kind of damage to someone is inexcusable. So what if he barely knew Lee? The boy has an attitude that he likes. To be able to overcome his disability in chakra manipulation and making the best out of his taijutsu. This was enough for Naruto to respect the kid. Kakashi looked at his approaching student, and no one could actually see it but underneath that mask. He's smiling. The boy looks so much like his father, and he didn't realize that. It seems that his fury over the Kyuubi blinded him from seeing the boy as who he is. He's regretting what he did to you, Naruto-kun. I can feel his emotions. He really regrets it. Is that so? I wonder when he realized his mistake, the blonde thought as he looked over Q. She just shook her head. Probably after you shift into this form. After all, this form does resemble your father. He might have been blinded by rage from my actions those years ago. But like I explained, someone controlled me. I couldn't do a thing. I know that, Q, but I just can't believe he just realized that I'm the Yandame's son. Q chuckled amusingly. Relax, Naruto-kun. Just forgive the man. It's better than making more enemies. You're right. Forgive and forget, right? Forgive and forget. Naruto came back into reality as he stopped in front of Kakashi. The man stood awkwardly before him, unsure of what to say to the blonde. Listen, Kakashi-sensei. For whatever reason the Kyuubi did, I'm sorry that it happened, but I'm not it. I'll forgive you, sensei, just because you were my dad's student, alright? Fair enough? Kakashi smiled softly under that mask of his as well as that feeling from his eyes. So you knew Naruto. I failed as a teacher. I don't even know that you were his son. Naruto punched the man lightly on his chest. Relax, sensei, let bygones be bygones, remember? Let's start something afresh. Tell you what, let's go for a drink with Guy-sensei. We're all having a bad day already, especially since Lee. Kakashi placed a hand on the blonde's shoulder, trying to deter about the previous match. We should do that.